There he goes again.
Yeah, baby!
My little buddy here is exceedingly excited because he just switched to Central Pacific Bank.
It's epic!
Without CPB, I wouldn't have a leg to stand on.
All the places we can go. Hi guys, welcome back to Uncut Hawaii, the podcast where we get to interview Hawaii's most interesting and innovative creators, entrepreneurs, and change makers. We're back on Hawaii Island on Tuesdays, and we have the beautiful Kalena Parish, also known as Kalenaku. Thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you for having me.
I was trying to come up with like a Kalena is a musician, songwriter. When people ask you like, what do you do? Like, what do you say?
Gosh, that's such a good question. I had to change up my Instagram bio recently because it just said too many things. And so now I changed it up and all it says is I sing and I teach. And I feel like that sums up majority of what takes up my time. It's not the only things that I do, but it's the things that I feel like I'm most passionate about. So if I could sum it up in a few words, it's I sing and I teach.
So the teaching part is like fairly newish, I guess, but the singing part has been like your whole life?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
I opened the Kapena School of Music in 2021.
okay.
And it was a dream that I had already started kind of creating. I had a board of directors and we had put in to be a 501c3. And it wasn't till the pandemic shut down that we were stuck at home. And I was like, you know what? I feel like everybody's kind of getting into things, right? Everyone was learning how to, I don't know, bake bread and taking up new like hobbies
Gardening.
because we were all just at home. So I was like, maybe I'll teach everyone on Instagram how to play the ukulele, you know? Everyone's got their grandpa's ukulele laying around at home or whatever. And so I started teaching really, really simple songs, like the easiest songs I knew. And it started building up traction on social media to the point where the Windward Mall, which is the mall I grew up in, right down the street from my house in Kaneohe, reached out and they were like, are you going to do anything about this? Like, are you serious about this? And I'm like, yeah, like 20 years down the road when I've won all these
retired.
huge awards and accomplished, all these things. Like, I'm not going to build a music school right now. They were like, well, we have a perfect spot for you and we would love, to have you open up your school here. And that has always been my dream location, at least for the first school, not hinting that there's any schools coming up elsewhere. But it was always my dream to like at least start there because it's my hometown. It was the community that I grew up in and I, wanted to be able to give back to the most at the time. And so I said yes. Like that, like, yes.
With a little question mark at the end.
And then the ball just kind of started rolling. And 3 years later, we've enrolled, oh my gosh, thousands of students into different programs. The school is now open 7 days a week. We've got, I don't know, over a dozen teachers teaching every single day. We do incredible like summer programs and all kinds of other workshops and master classes and stuff. And so it's
That's so
just the
I
best.
did not even know that was only since 2021.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know it was only that because it seems so like mature at this point.
Thank you. I
That's
grew
incredible.
up in music schools myself. So, on top of having a basic understanding of what I wanted to give to my community, I grew up in all these different kinds of classrooms and with all these different teachers. And so as a student, I understood the things that were most beneficial for me, like what I took to the best and what I felt like I learned the best out of it. And it helped a lot too. I have two siblings, my older brother and my younger sister, and we all went to different music classes. And so, and we're all so different as far as like how we learn. My brother's very much a creative, free-flowing, just, oh my gosh, he's like a mastermind. I'm like very structured. I need sheet music in front of me at all times, and
Really?
I will play everything to a T exactly as it's written. Don't ask me to deviate from it. So because we're all different learners, I had an idea of how different learners could excel, together in a classroom. And so that definitely helped a lot. But yeah, it was a kako thing, but it was something that I at least had been working on for years prior to. So it's every single time I walk into that school, I'm just like, wow, like I feel so lucky.
Cool. Wow, congratulations. That's
you.
such a huge accomplishment.
Thank you.
I want to go back all the way back to you growing up in Kaneohe. You said Windward Mall is like, that's your place. And so, I mean, what was it like growing up in your family? Just started there.
No, yeah, totally.
I mean, it's such a legendary music family where you guys are all involved, it seems.
Yeah.
Like, what was it like growing up?
It was a really cool experience. I think a lot of what people see on television and stuff is that the music is just in my immediate family. My dad, is Kelly Boy DeLima of Kapena, and my brother and my sister and myself are all musically involved and a part of the music industry, not just in the family, but also outside of that as well. With the music school, my brother runs his own recording studio and is, a multi-award-winning engineer. And so we've all, done our own part in the music industry. But outside of that, like in my family, my grandparents on my mom's side were both musicians in Waikiki for over 20 years.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So my grandma, oh my gosh, to this day, she, to me, had one of the most beautiful voices, just very that old Hawaiian, heavy vibrato, beautiful, sound. My grandpa, oh my goodness, he would say if he were here that he is the best singer in the world.
Aww.
My mom's siblings, all of them sing.
Wow.
My uncle Danny and my uncle Solo, who is married to my mom's sister, they're both members of Tropical Nights. So they also were very popular music group in the 80s and 90s. And so every single time, like our Christmas Eve as a family, and it was the whole family.
I can't even imagine what that would be like. Everybody jamming.
Everybody jamming. And so everyone would kind of choose their Christmas song that they would like or that they would be practicing throughout the year, and everyone would perform it. Like it was what we did before we could open presents on Christmas Eve. And it was just a thing that we did, in my family. It was everyone's birthday. We would go sing karaoke and, everyone could sing, and it wasn't even like to show off. It was just, we would pass the microphone around, and it was always the ones that weren't professional musicians that would sing the most, like would hog the mic the most, but everybody could sing. So
I was going to say that's so much pressure. Oh my gosh, for somebody. Was there anybody in the family that was like, didn't get that musical gene?
Honestly, the only ones are like the in-laws. So the ones that like married in. And so we'll make jokes all the time, but my husband sings Kala'e. My sister's husband will like wail in family karaoke time. He doesn't sing on stage professionally, but for the most part, everybody does. If not, there's always wine. And that will help everyone.
That's just a requirement to be a part of this. Ohana, you need to at least be able to sing or pick up an instrument. You're going to learn how to play.
Yeah. Or dance. You can
or dance.
One of the two.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So at what point did you start performing with your dad? Because I know that was a thing with you guys, that you guys all performed together, and that's so sweet. So at what point, one, did you have a choice? And then two, at what point were you guys a family band?
So I'm the middle child. So my brother is the oldest, myself, and then my sister is 3 years younger than me. We're all 3 years apart. And for some reason, like the age of requirement was like 11 in our family. So my brother started at 11, and he was the first keyboard player actually for the group Kapena. So prior to my brother, they didn't have a steady keyboardist that would travel with them.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother, when he started performing, I believe the band configuration was still Uncle Tiva and Uncle Timo. And then I believe it was Eddie Teo on drums. And then my brother and my dad. So he started at 11. 3 years later, my dad got offered to start performing in Waikiki, but they wanted a trio. And he of course, my brother was already performing with him, so he threw my brother on bass. And my brother can play everything, anything and everything. Give him 5 minutes and he'll figure it out.
Oh, that's awesome.
But because he needed a trio, he started bringing me along. So I got on-the-job training. I was learning how to play the ukulele while we were on stage. So the songs that I knew, I would plug my instrument in. And the ones I didn't know, I would unplug it.
That's funny.
It's like, I don't know this song. But a lot of our upbringing was in Waikiki, on the job training, and we all started at 11 years old, which I only thought about last year that I have been performing on stage now over 20 years.
That's so
Do
crazy.
that math. And as have both my siblings, because we
You've
had
been
started
performing
at such a
for
young age.
longer than you haven't been performing.
Yeah.
Like twice as long.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember, growing up, and I was doing like our steady Thursday night performance was the Mai Tai Bar in Waikiki. And this was like my junior year in high school, I think. Mai Tai Bar in Waikiki, we would do like 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And then we would have like an hour and a half break to eat dinner. And I could finish like my algebra homework. And then we would go to the Shack Waikiki, which was right down the street. That's when the Shack was just like the place to be. And we would do that from like 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock.
Wow. And
Yeah.
you're in high school at this point.
In high school. So I would get home at like 2. And then
Wow.
by 6 o'clock in the morning, me and my sister headed off to school the next morning. And my parents made sure we all got our license at 16 so that we could drive ourselves to school.
We're sleeping in.
Yeah.
You got that.
So long. But yeah, that was kind of and that was just Thursday. That was kind of what we grew up doing. And so we were in the bars like
That's funny.
way before we were 21
10
years
years
old.
before you
and,
could drink.
It was nice because my dad was always there and we had like the protection of having him there. So we were able to do all of these things, but in a safe way,
Yeah.
because dad was always there. There was definitely a point where I was like, I'm never going to get a boyfriend ever. My dad's always here.
Yeah, talk about intimidation. Kelly Boy DeLima's daughter. Oh, good luck. I can't even imagine that because I'm trying to think back to like when I was a teenager, and I love you, Dad, but I don't think I would have like wanted to spend that much time with my family.
Yeah,
what
for
was
sure.
it like? Like especially back then.
Yeah.
Like when you're just kind of still a kid and like, but forced to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that? What was that like?
I think I knew at the time that I was developing a craft that would carry me for the rest of my life. So that was how I kept myself from, I guess, going crazy.
Family business. I love talking
Yeah.
to people about family businesses because it's like some families can't even get together without working together.
For sure.
And like
Yeah.
now all these personalities, 3 or 4 of you all together.
Yeah. So I think it was that I knew I was honing in on this craft, but I also, a part of me knew that not everybody gets the opportunity to perform with their family. I knew that it was something that wasn't going to last forever, and I tried to tell myself that, one day I'm not going to be able to do this anymore, like with my dad and with my brother. And I remember countless nights at like the Mai Tai Bar, the Moana Surf Rider, or the Princess Kaiulani, where I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so soul crushing. How many more times do I need to sing the Hawaiian wedding song? But knowing that like there was going to be a day, and I wasn't going to know what day that was, that I would never sing the song again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I tried to remind myself to be grateful and to appreciate it in those moments. And I would have never, ever thought that, that day would come and I would be, a 30-year-old musician who performs now with her husband and who is running a music school. And I don't even know the words to the Hawaiian wedding song anymore. And, it's just, yeah, I tried to find the silver lining in it, I guess.
That's such a great attitude. I mean, for that, or anything, you know, when you're going through something that is just like, there's always an end date for everything.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
just trying to find the goodness in those moments
Yeah.
is such a great perspective or way to look at it. It's good framing. Do you miss it?
No, not the performing so much in Waikiki. And you know what? Our family still gets those times to get together and like not perform together so much these days, but just play together, you know, and remind ourselves why we love music and, you know, why we love being a family, you know, which is, I think, super important. It's not so much about the big lights and the big stages, but it really comes back to like why we do it, you know? So for me, at least, I love those kinds of days the best, when we're all just sitting around and everyone's got an instrument in hand and there's no set list. You know, we don't know what song's coming next. We may not even have ever played that song before, but we're in the key of C, everybody jump in, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that is the part of the family that I love the most. And so, yeah, the soul crushing performances. No.
But I've seen you guys like at weddings or, you know, out in Waikiki or in different events. I've seen your family play, and you couldn't even tell that you've probably sang that song like a billion times before. Just the way that you like bring this like enthusiasm is like so infectious. And even I remember meeting your dad after, I think it was a wedding. Yeah, it was a wedding. And it was so funny because he like, I was just went up to him and said, "Hi, Uncle, I'm Kolby." And he like hugged me like he knew me forever.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had ever, maybe when I was like really little, I met him. But he just has this like amazing spirit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I
My
can-
dad, till this day, like, Kala'e, my husband, and I will always, like, after watching a performance, we'll be like, man, he just took us to like entertainment school. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, he's just such a, he's done this, I think this year, he started in 84. Is that 40 years?
Yes.
Over 40 years in the
Wow.
industry. And, you know, he's such a vet in the game.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard so many people say it, but it's really true. My dad is one of the hardest working musicians in the game. He never has an off switch. You know what I mean? Like, if you showed up to his house and he didn't have his shirt on, he would still meet you with the same aloha that
That's
you would meet him
incredible.
with at the airport. You know, like, he doesn't have an off switch. And that in itself is so admirable. It just shows that he has such a passion for, you know, for music and for the people that he's able to share it with. And that's always been something that I'm like, okay, like I just lose. It's so draining for me. You know, I'm like, oh, I got to be nice today. Kalena, you need to be nice today. You know, like prepping myself as I walk out the door. I'm like, oh my gosh.
But that's just him. That's just
yeah.
like that's who he is.
Yeah, yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
You can tell when he's on stage, but even like off stage, and like, he's not putting on a show or a character.
Yeah. And people they've asked me a bunch, they've asked him a bunch, like, are you ever going to retire? And no, my dad will never, ever retire. He just loves what he does just so much. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So when did you transition to being Kalena? Like, or I guess Kalena and Kala'e.
Yeah.
But when did you transition out and kind of like start doing things more on your own?
So the transition has actually happened recently. A lot of it, I guess the transition period was between 2019 into the pandemic. And a lot of it, a big one was Kala'e and I made the move here to Hawai'i Island. And we loved being here so much. COVID and the entire pandemic ruined us in the best way. Because I saw just freedom. We were here. We spent so much time here. It was the first time in my life that I wasn't performing at night, which was so weird for me. Like and when I say we started performing at age 11, it wasn't like one performance every other week. Like we were full-time gigging musicians. And so on average from 8th grade, I was doing 3 to 5 performances a week.
Wow.
By the time I had graduated, it was on average 5 to 10 a week.
Wow.
And this is like the Kapena mentality where you gig every single night. My siblings and I would give each other like one night off. So if we did in Waikiki, if there was like a duo performance on like a Thursday and then a duo performance on a Tuesday, like I would do Tuesday and my sister would do Thursday, and that would allow us one day off, you know?
Wow.
And then
I didn't realize you guys ran it that hard.
it was hardcore.
I mean, it did seem like you guys were everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
So I guess.
Yeah. So, and then like Fridays on average, 1 to 2. Saturdays on average were our busy days. So we would go anywhere from 3 to 5 gigs on a Saturday.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And then Sundays on average 1 to 2. So, I mean, it was every single night. And
who kept your like schedule?
our
Like-
momager.
Yes.
Shout out momager.
That's
yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
to manage.
She was managing all of it. We had my dad's former manager, Ken Thompson. He retired, and he and his wife now live in Florida. And I still text them every once in a while, just giving them updates on life, and they update me on their beautiful retired life. But my mom took it over. I want to say 2014-ish.
Okay.
Around that time, and she had been running it all, through. Just recently, I think my brother-in-law has started like tag teaming with her, but she's quarterbacked that entire operation. And yeah, that was kind of our every week kind of thing,
Wow.
And so when the pandemic hit and we had nothing, like no performances to go to, I was just like, what is life? Oh my gosh. And we were just doing anything and everything. Like I learned how to cook so much different kinds of food during the pandemic, and we were just going on all these excursions all over the place. And,
that's
it was
awesome.
just the best. And it was pretty much me, Kala'e, and our dog, Ha'a, and we were just going all over the place. And it really, I think it taught myself and my entire family like a quality of life that, it wasn't all about work. Like we can choose which, performances we want to do, and the ones that we love to do, the ones that are filling for us. And that was something else that I had learned in the pandemic. It was maybe 3 to 4 months in, and I started finding that I was really like aggravated. I was getting like real short with Kala'e, poor thing. And one night,
I think that was everybody during the pandemic.
for
though.
sure, yeah,
They're
for sure,
with each other so much for the first
totally,
time.
yeah. You need to go stand on that
Yep.
acre, and I'll be on this acre. Don't touch me. But a couple of our friends came over, like maybe 4 months after the pandemic happened, and Kala'e brought out his guitar, and we all sat around and started singing. And I felt this relief so heavy come off of me that I like started crying. And I didn't realize that because we didn't have all these gigs at night, I wasn't singing anymore. And all this pent up like, anxiety inside of me was just, I didn't have this outlet that I always had. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it got to a point where I forgot that music was this healing, meditative practice that people do all over the world to actually heal,
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it was like, I was like this newborn human being. I was like, whoa, like for so long I had told myself that music was how I made a living, and it's what
Your
paid
work.
the bills, and it's what afforded me the luxuries of life. And then the pandemic hits, and I realized, no, music is something that we need. I mean, it's the thing that we turn to when we're having the worst day of our life. It's the thing we blast when we're headed to the beach. It's, what pumps us up in the morning. It's what pumps us up in the gym, like all these different things. And it's music that does all of that, right?
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's almost like gonna make me cry to think about how you just discovered that. I mean, you probably just you didn't realize that because it was
Totally.
just your normal everyday and your work, and just not having that moment of like realizing how much you love it,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, completely.
and need it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It was quite a journey, the pandemic. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that changed a lot of our perspective on how to move forward, you know, taking those lessons and how do we move forward from it, and just finding ways to have that same quality of life, to be able to pursue our passions and run like the earth is on fire towards all of our dreams. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to balance and quality of life. And
So how has, now that you're here in Waimea, and post-pandemic, you know, everything I feel like is coming back. For as much as we can control it, it seems now, because now it's like everything coming back, but we all had this moment of like realization like you did, like, wait, it's available, like the abundance is there, but like how do we want to approach it? Like how do we want to take it on? Like we definitely don't want to go back to the way we used to be doing things pre-pandemic, because that was just crazy. So how has it been for you, like post-pandemic, getting back into things? Has like your approach to music changed at all?
I think so. I think there was a lot of things during the pandemic that changed our philosophies of life, I guess. And now I think one of the things that has always been like a core foundation for me is that family is super important, and it's the core foundation of, you know, any decision that's made. And now with me at Kala'e, it's very much that same, you know, that is my foundation. It's, you know, every single decision we make is based off of making sure that that's good, you know, and we move like partners, like we want to, as much as possible, kind of like move like a pack, you know, and that's not always our reality. A lot of times I'm on Oahu and he's here and I'm running the school and he's, you know, in the studio, or not even here. He might be on the mainland, like recording, or other places. But as often as possible, we'll kind of like check in with each other and be like, should I cancel my week next week so that, you know, I can be where you are, or, you know, vice versa. And a lot of times we'll make that choice to adjust our schedules. And I think that was always our goal, to be able to have the freedom to be like, you know, not flaking out on anything. If we have a contract with you, we will show up to your performance. But it's, you know, the other things that, like, do I need to be on Oahu to do payroll, or can I just do it remotely on the Big Island? Like, can I make these sacrifices here and there, or can he make these sacrifices here and there, so that we can make sure that we keep our, you know, our foundation and our family on track and together and moving in the ways that we envision ourselves moving. And I think that is a big something that we learned from the pandemic, is that we have the freedom to make those choices. So yes, it has influenced a lot of the music that we choose to make, because a lot of that is even that is based off of like the foundation. So we were looking at Kala'e's album drop, and, you know, if we drop it on this month, it'll be perfect, but this week is on our wedding anniversary week, and I don't want it to, you know, interrupt or interfere with our plans for our wedding anniversary, so let's do it 2 weeks prior. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that. So I think growing up in a musical family and in a family business has, and both of us, Kala'e grew up in a family business as well, so it's allowed us to really be able to navigate, I guess, our relationship and our business at the same time, and making sure that we're just keeping everything as balanced as we can possibly figure it out every day.
Yeah.
It's a everyday kind of
everyday
challenge.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that, because I often like think about how other married couples do it, like how they navigate this like flow of life.
Yeah.
Because it's always changing. And even if you're in the same industry like you and Kala'e, I mean, there's still things that you're doing individually, like, and things that you need individually and you need as a couple. It's such a dance to figure out, like, are we prioritizing each other enough? Are we making enough time? Like, is this when we need to hustle, or is this when we need to slow down? And like, I'm about to celebrate my, how many years? 12-year anniversary. And we're still like, I dropped off Peter at the airport and we're like trying to connect real quick because he works there and I'm here. And it's just like, I just wonder, like, man, how do other married couples do it? Because life is so crazy. And it's like, once you get used to a certain thing, something changes and then you're like having to readjust again. And it's like, but I like how you say like the foundation and just knowing that your guys' relationship is more important than work, than music, than anything else. Yeah. And that just always that checking in with each other.
Yeah,
I think
for
it's
sure.
really important.
Yeah. I heard one of my favorite singers here in the islands is Mila Gibson. And I heard her talk about her husband once, or it was a piece of advice someone had told her. And it was something along the lines of, sorry, Mila, if I mess this up, but it was something along the lines of like, when you find the one who inspires you to be more, that's the one. You know what I mean? And oh my gosh, I loved hearing her say that because for me, you know, it wasn't only my dad kind of like sheltering me from boys, but I just always had this inner thing that told me like, I know what I want and I know that I'm worthy of getting that. Mm-hmm. And I'm just not going to settle for anything less. And, you know, I mean, being Kelly Boy's daughter comes with a lot of pros and a lot of cons, okay? It's a balance. I remember I was like 16 and a half. I just got my driver's license, and I was driving home from town on the Like, if you know, Kaneohe. And I got home, and my dad was sitting on the table, and he was like, sit down. And I was like, oh, gosh. I was like, yes.
That's not good.
Yeah. And I was like, yes. And he was like, I just got a call. I was like, okay. He was like, one of my friends saw you driving up the Like going 60 miles per hour, and it's a 45 mile per hour zone.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what the heck? Oh, like, everyone knows your car. They know, they have your dad on speed dial. I mean, like, oh my goodness, you can't get away with anything. Honestly, I turned 21. Every bar I go to, they're playing Masese. I'm like, I can't get away from this guy. He's everywhere.
That's too funny. Were you like, oh, that's it? Thank God.
I know. Honestly, I was like, oh my goodness. Seriously, you always go 60 on the Like. But yeah, it was just, I loved that piece of advice that I had heard from Mila. And I think after that, I was just like, Mila said it. It must be true. Aww. I'm holding out. I'm waiting. And it was worth everything. Yeah.
Aww. Yes, yeah. I love Mila, and I adore their marriage that they have. It's it's so sweet.
It is.
How did Kala'e do when he met your dad?
You know what? Actually,
or how did your dad do when he met Kala'e?
Right? Kala'e and I have been friends for a really long time. So he was in Oregon at Linfield for college, and when he moved home, he had written a song that he wanted to hear a female voice on. His cousin, Taylor, and my sister were best friends in high school. So Taylor, his cousin, was like, oh, you should sing it with my friend Lilo. And he was like, oh, yeah, sure, okay. So I met Kala'e in my house. He was on my piano when I got home from, at the time I was working at the Auleni Hotel. And I came home and he was sitting there on my piano with my sister. And so that was our first meet. My dad actually met him before I did. My entire family met him before I did because I was still at my performance when I got home. And it was just one of those things where we kind of bumped into each other a lot, like over the course of maybe 5 or 6 years. And then I was doing that same show at Auleni, and he started playing in the bar at the hotel. And so we would meet up after like we had finished and have drinks at the bar across the street. And I guess that turned into us dating somehow. But I guess my dad, how to answer that question? I mean, I guess
it
always
helps
thought,
that he knew him outside of you two dating. Like you weren't bringing him home and introducing like
for sure,
your boyfriend.
For sure. Yeah. And that was both of our families because I knew his family super well as well. So I guess the transition on both ends were kind of weird because his family knew me as Kalena, everybody's friend, and Kala'e, everybody's friend. So when we went from like friends to now we're dating, the whole family on both sides had to like shift. They're like, we only know them one way. Now you guys are dating and, we have to adjust to it. And I think that was a big adjustment on both ends to kind of, go from friends to like dating to like building this life together. And from a family who knows us as friends to now they see us working as a partnership, it's, they have to kind of, I guess, relearn how to move around us,
Yeah.
Because it goes from just friends to now we have this property and we're building this life and this career and all of these things. And so with any family, I guess it's just a transition that you have to, learn and figure out. Yeah.
But also probably like best case scenario too.
Totally.
Where you already like love this, you know this other person. And so it's not even just like trying to get to know them. Like you already know them. But then now it's like, okay, we see what's happening. Okay, that's great. Okay, they're moving away.
Yeah. Visit us. No, yeah. Actually, it was funny because before we had even considered dating at all, we were just like strictly friends. My mom asked me, she was like, so what do you think about that boy? And I was like, Mom, but mother's intuition, they just like know. But it's funny because even his dad kind of came up to me once and he was like, I'm not looking. And I was just like, what is this?
Oh, that's so sweet. That's really sweet. All right. So now that you guys are here in Waimea as much as you can be, what are some things you're looking forward to? Like it's a new year. Yeah, we can still say that because Chinese New Year just happened.
I'm still getting adjusted to it. Yeah. My checks are still 2023.
Yeah, same. I'm like, but now we're like at the end of February. That's crazy how fast that happened.
I know.
What are you guys looking forward to this year?
So when we first moved up here to Hawaii Island, we actually bought vacant land here in Waimea, and we moved up here. Kala'e always loved Hawaii Island, and so I knew when we first started dating that eventually I would end up here, So it was kind of like,
it was part of the package.
You know what you're getting yourself into. His grandpa had a macnut farm out in Ka'u, and so we spent a bunch of time there, and he made me fall in love with it. It was a slow love, it's a slow courtship, a slow appreciation for this island. But I feel like it's because you really need to get shown its beauty by its people. You know what I mean? And it was then, I think, throughout the pandemic when we got to really meet, and that's a big thing for me. It's like, if I'm going to move to a place, I want to be in the community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I want to meet the people. I want to be a part of the people. Like, I want to help them and be invited to their house for, the Super Bowl, whatever.
Or pizza on the Traeger.
Yes, totally. All of that. And vice versa, be able to invite them over to our house and all that stuff. So we bought vacant land. There was nothing on it. And it took us almost 4 years to finally finish our house. So we finished it in August this past year.
Yay.
Oh my gosh.
How exciting.
I'm so excited. We're finally on real electrical. I can blow dry my hair. I'm like, wow, this is a new me. It's a new me. But as far as moving forward, I still have that same kind of passion. I love being a part of my community. Like in Kaneohe, with, building the school there, my heart was just, I want to be a part of this community.
Yeah.
My mom knows everyone there. You go to the supermarket, to the post office, to the bank. Like she is on a first name basis with everyone, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what it was like for me growing up in Kaneohe, was like everyone was my auntie, you know? And I really want that same community here. And we do have, you know, we're building that community now, but
Yeah.
I think that's always been really important to me. I tell people all the time, Waimea kind of reminds me of what Kaneohe was like when I was growing up.
Oh, really?
You know, just like the
Yeah.
small town kind
Yeah.
of. It's different now. It's grown a lot, but that's what it's always felt like for me. So, on a personal level, I love giving back to my community. I serve on the board for the Hawai'i Songwriting Festival, which is held every year at the Westin Hapuna Beach Resort. And so I love being a part of stuff like that, where I get to actually like get my hands dirty and see the impact and see parts of my community benefit, you know, because of the hard work of community members. So, on a personal level, that's where we are. Yeah.
How about I feel like you guys are always just hustling. There's new music videos, just so much on like the professional level that you guys are doing. And it's exciting to watch because I'm like, look at these two just like blazing their trail together. It's really sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A lot happening there as well. We're kind of preparing to shift focus. So Kala'e is preparing the launch of his highly anticipated album, Where I'm Going. And so I'm really looking forward to supporting him with this album. We're looking at a possible tour, inner island, and then also abroad. And then later this year, we're looking at doing a duo EP. So we'll drop that together at the end of the year. But I am hoping to open up a few more programs at my school on Oahu. So as far as professionally, we are still performing together. We're doing big events. We're actually going on tour with Henry Kapono in April. And so we're doing a lot of that kind of thing together. As far as music releases, though, we're shifting to have Kala'e release his albums so that I can also shift and focus on the school and developing new programs and making sure it's kind of set up for success. So we're both really excited about that. It's not easy at all. This album that he's been working on has been 3 years in the making.
Wow.
And you'll hear my voice on every single track.
Yeah.
I am the free backup singer that's always there. And if he only lets me sing one part, I will sing the other part in the car the entire time we listen to it. But I'm just really excited to, I guess, being in the music industry. And like I said, 21 years this year in the music industry. There's a part of me that really loves getting to be the wife, you know, like I've seen my mom be like that supportive wife for so many years. And I guess I just love getting to be that supportive wife in this season, and not have the pressure of the spotlight. And that's the big thing about being on stage. You know, there's just like so much pressure to look perfect and dress a certain way. And, you know, and after 21 years, sometimes you're just like, I just want to be backstage. Just give me the control of the lights and tell me when I can cue the curtain, and that's what I want to do, you know?
That's so awesome. He's a lucky guy that he has a wife that's like fully just like cheerleader in the back, but also can like hold your own too if he needs something, or you can give him probably some tips and, you know,
for sure.
You know?
No, yeah. And it's a reciprocal thing. I mean, there's a lot of men would be extremely intimidated by a woman that's been in the industry for so long and who gets so much attention and who's always on stage. And, you know, I mean, there's so much pressure that comes with that as well. So I am just as lucky and just as like grateful to have a husband that is supportive of my career and even the school. I mean, like, you know, I'm the free backup singer, but he's the free handyman. So go hang all those pictures on the wall.
Yeah.
And I've got 5 keyboards you've got to put together in this room. And so, yeah.
I love it. You guys are so sweet. All right. We actually have some Instagram questions.
Awesome.
Yeah. Let me pull it up.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the Instagram questions come up, I was like, this could either be really good or really nerve wracking.
Well, okay, so there's one from Under My Umbrella. Mm-hmm. She asked, what was your all-time favorite dish made by Handsome George?
Oh, okay. Yes.
I'm like, I hope she knows what that means because I have no clue.
Okay, so Handsome George is my grandpa, the one that I said he is his own favorite singer.
This is your mom's dad.
My mom's dad, yes. And he was known to those who were closest to him as Handsome George. Favorite dish from Pops. I think everyone's probably favorite dish from their grandparent is beef stew. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like the ultimate comfort food.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was. Like, my Pops he would shop on a budget.
Yeah.
And I mean, he could make like the best beef stew for under like $12.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would
and
have to
feed
say
the
that.
whole entire family.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, beef stew. That was like my one thing that, like, you know, when you have like birthdays growing up, my dad would ask me what would I want. I was like, beef stew.
Right?
I don't know. Yeah, it's like fully comfort food growing up.
It is the ultimate comfort food.
All right. We have from Hoppa Girl 88. What has been your most memorable show?
Yeah. Most memorable show. There's one that sticks out in my mind. I mean, it's kind of an easy answer for me. In 2015, we did the Kapena reunion. It was the 30-year reunion at the Waikiki Shell. It was a sold-out event. And it was my first time, like, stepping into production for show production, I guess. And I, along with the promoters for the event, I mean, we, and of course, Kapena Band, like, curated this incredible show from start to finish. But there was a moment backstage where I was running from stage right to stage left where I caught a glimpse of the audience. My dad was singing Danny's song, and the entire place, this was right when iPhones, like, you know, like the iPhone light became a thing.
Yeah.
And I caught a glimpse of the audience, and there was just thousands of lights in the air. And it was the first time I'd ever seen that live, you know?
Yeah.
And you see it quite a bit now.
Yeah.
But it was the first time I had ever seen that in real life. And to see it from the stage is just, from the stage of a production that you had a hand in putting together, it was just like the most rewarding thing. Like, that was worth every stressful gray hair I got from from putting that show together. I would say that was probably the most memorable. It's the one thing that always pops into my mind whenever anyone asks. Yeah.
That's a beautiful memory. What has been has there been any shows that you can remember where you, like, I always ask people who perform, like, where you like fully messed up or forgot words or like
totally
fell down?
Yeah, no, completely. So, what year was that? 2018, I think. It was after the reunion, and I was so heavily involved with the group Kapena at the time, and we had just released a brand new album called Palena Ole. It was a all Hawaiian CD, and it was the first, I think, all Hawaiian CD that wasn't a compilation album. My dad had a compilation Hawaiian CD. He had done Hawaiian music throughout his entire career, but this was the first, like, fully all Hawaiian album. And we did this was my second production I ever did. We did a show at the Hawaii Theater, and that one was sold out as well. I think it seats about 1,300 people in that theater. And I was so into, like, the show flow and production side of everything that I didn't even really put that much thought into, like, performing that night.
So you're performing too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't advise that at all. And so, you know, I'm like in the middle of lighting cues and who's up next on stage and, you know, all this stuff. And I was singing the prayer, speaking of Mila Gibson, with Ho'okena. And we had a beautiful hula halau who were coming on stage to dance it. And halfway through, and this happens to me to this day, halfway through the song, I started thinking about, I wouldn't have forgotten the words if I wasn't thinking about the words.
Oh.
But I started thinking about it. You know, I was
so you don't have like a thing in front of you with the
I
lyrics.
did not at the time.
Okay.
I will never go on stage again without one now, though, after that. And I knew it was bad because it was just like 2 lines that I had completely forgot. And I knew it was bad because I got off stage and Kala'e, who I was only dating at the time, we weren't even officially boyfriend or girlfriend, was like, he texted me, it was like, you couldn't tell it wasn't that bad. Oh. And I was like, that's how I know it was bad. Oh. It's like the fact that you texted me right as soon as I got off stage.
Liar.
Wasn't that bad. You couldn't tell. I was like, it was that moment I knew he loved me. But at the same time, I was like, dang it.
Oh, man. Well, at least you had backup, right?
I did. I had all of Ho'okena on stage with me. So it covered something. I don't know. But if anyone has a video of it, I don't want to see it.
I love those stories because I'm like, it happens to everybody, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
When it does happen, it's like, oh man, well, it's happened to Kalena, so
yeah, right?
We'll survive. I love that. All right, I think we had one more question. Oh, best piece of advice you've ever gotten. The one from Milo was pretty good, but other than that.
The one that I've held onto for this long is, and it's funny, we're talking about all the same people in this podcast, which I love. We're calling back on all these things. My dad's manager, Ken Thompson, he was such a smart man. Like we looked up to him. I remember my entire upbringing. Like he was just like financially just a smart person, someone we wanted in our corner, like, you know, rooting for us and he was just like the most ideal manager you could have, you know, very honest, a lot of integrity. And when he retired, we were so sad about it, you know. One of the things he had told me right before he had left was, he told me, if I can give you one piece of advice, and it's funny because he only told me, he said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand what that meant at the time. Mm-hmm. But as I kind of grew into adulthood, my understanding of that was don't bank on just doing one thing for the rest of your life. Yeah. And oh my gosh, like that piece of advice in today's economy has paid itself back like tenfold because I have had my hand in so many different things. You know, I have my bartending license. I do,
you do?
graphic design work. I'm a realtor. I do all these other things that, you know, and I don't practice real estate a lot, but I'm, you know, I've been a realtor for, I don't know, maybe 7 years at this point. And I do graphic design work for little companies like here and there, but it comes in handy because you know what musician needs the most? Graphic designers, like to create flyers and websites and business cards and brochures. And, you know, it's just all of these things have like collectively like helped so much in my own personal like life and my own dreams. So I think that was by far like one of the best piece of advice that I've ever gotten was don't put all your eggs in one basket. And it's so simple, but I guess to me it was just like you're put on this earth and created for more than just one thing. So go out and figure out what it is and find it. And you know,
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so good. And it's also like giving you permission to just like go explore other things besides music or like definitely that's your foundation. But I mean, yeah, all these other things that you're probably really good at too, because you have this like artistic side of you. So
for sure. Yeah.
I love that. And it goes against sometimes I think this thinking where you work so hard at one thing so you can become the master of it.
For sure.
You know, and even like with sport or other things where it's like, okay, don't do all these sports. Like finally just pick one and just put all your time in that. Like it kind of goes against that. But I love just the perspective because it's real life. Like even like for me, I'm like on my thing, it's like filmmaker, director, producer, podcast host, like
mother,
business
wife,
owner, all
I
these
mean, like
things.
so many things, right?
Yeah, and I love like flowing with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes like on the filmmaking side, it'll be like super busy, and sometimes it'll be like more so on the whatever mom side. I'll have to like
Definitely.
just flow with it. So
yeah,
I love
definitely.
it. I love that. So where can people find you? If you want people to find you, how can they connect with you? How can they like sign up for a music class?
Yeah. So I try to be very active on social media. It's probably the easiest place to reach out. So you can follow me at the Kalenaku on pretty much everywhere. Kalena Parish is my legal name. It's what the
But we'll
checks
always
say.
be known as Kalenaku.
But I also have all my information linked in with my husband, Kala'eMusic.com. And so we have our own kind of duo artist page there. And then my school in Kaneohe is called the Kapena School of Music. So you can go to KapenaSchoolOfMusic.com, or you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff as well at Kapena School of Music.
One last question.
Yeah.
Growing up, my dad had your song, Kalenaku,
Oh my
playing
gosh.
constantly. What was that like to have a song created after you and like still hearing it today? Like, well, what do you think when you hear it to this day?
Gosh, you know what is probably one of the coolest things about having a song written after you with your name in it is you would not believe how many little girls come up to me to this day and they're like, my name is Kalenaku. And it's the cutest
sweet.
thing. But the thing that a lot of people don't know is my legal name isn't even Kalenaku.
Oh,
It's not even my legal name. So my legal name is just Kalena. Kalenaku was like my dad's, just like his baby nickname for me. And it was, I don't even know why. My dad is the master of nicknames. He will give every single person a nickname. If you hang out with him consecutively for a week, he will give you a nickname. Like everyone gets a nickname. It's like Oprah, you get a nickname, and everybody. With my dad, because I've known him for so long, I probably have like 10 different names. Like he'll just call me the most absurd things ever.
what's the worst?
Kuluelo Coupe Deville. He'll just like call me and he'll be like, Kuluelo Coupe Deville. And I'm just like, what even is that? And it's so bad how many nicknames I have that Kala'e started to call me Fruit Coops. Because he's just like, it's like crazy at this point. He's like, oh, Fruit Coops. I'm like, what? But anyway, so what was I talking about?
Kalenaku, the song.
Thank you. There's so many little girls that will come up to me to this
That's
day.
really
We've done
sweet.
a ton of first birthday parties for little girls named Kalenaku or even just Kalena. I've also met a bunch of siblings named Kapena and Kalena.
Oh, that's
so
funny.
adorable.
Yeah.
But I just feel honored that a song that was written for me gets to be, the soundtrack for so many people's childhood.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the coolest thing. Is hearing so many people just be like, oh my gosh, that's my song, and knowing that that's actually my song. It's like my song, but being so honored to be like, wow, it's so cool that like a song written for me gets to touch so many different people's lives. And I think that is a songwriter's dream in general, right?
Yeah.
It's like, today Kala'e has a song that he wrote for me as well that, he sang to me to like get me to date him. And it became a song that we turned into a duet. And it's called Always Remain. And we now sing it at so many weddings. And he just posted, I'm saying it because he just posted it. It was Valentine's Day, recently. And he just posted the song again. And so many people were like, oh my gosh, this will forever be our first dance or like our
that's
song,
really sweet.
Yeah. And so for songwriters in general to like create music that becomes like the soundtrack to people's lives, like the song that they sing to their baby in their first year of life or the song that they dance with the love of their life, like it's just so cool as music creators to like write something down in your phone or in your notebook and record it one day and it it takes on its own life. You know what I mean?
That's like
it's
a
just
superpower. That
Totally.
like a song can instantly take you back to a moment or a feeling or a person that maybe not isn't here anymore.
Totally.
Or it like just completely just takes you back there.
Yeah.
Like that memory just becomes alive again.
Yeah.
So that's like a really cool superpower.
It
that
really
songwriters
is.
have.
And like to be the songwriter who had created that, or, you know, like that even more so, it really is like a musician's dream. It's like, wow, my song that I wrote like in confidence and, you know, like is now has taken on its own, you know, its own life, and it's become so much more to different people. And, you know, so I think that is probably the most beautiful thing about having a song written for me before I could even walk, is knowing how many people's lives were touched by it. It's just super cool to see.
Very cool. Oh, that just gave me chicken skin again. So many chicken skin moments today. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Of
It's
course.
been such an honor, and I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Me too.
I know our schedules are so busy,
I
so
know.
I'm glad we were finally able to make it happen.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Let's do it again.
Yes, anytime. Anytime.
All right. Thanks, guys, for joining. Please follow Kalena at the Kalenaku, Kapena School of Music, Kala'e Music. Follow Uncut on all the platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. And thanks for joining. See you next time.